All right, this one, it's a bit echoey, we're in my office. This one's about the Y63, and don't get me wrong, I'm not speculating what I think the Y63 will have or look like, but I want to go through what I think it should have and what we've learned about the Y62s and what they should do, because Nissan really need to get this one right. So it's fair to say I've been around these Y62s almost since the beginning of when they hit Australia, and I've seen the cycles of what Nissan does when they release each series. And essentially, if someone tells you that they think, yeah, the Y63 or the Series 6 is definitely coming out, you know, an inside dealer told me or something like that, they're wrong. No one knows. No one's going to know until about a week before, so if you think that, it's rubbish. There has been a trend that I have seen Nissan do though, with the series, more so Series 3, 4 and 5, is when you're going to buy a car, as soon as the series comes out, like a TI is, I don't know, 80, even sometimes 90 something thousand dollars to buy, and TIL has always been like 100K. Then as the price starts to drop, the minimum is around that about 70K, and then the new series comes out. So no one today is buying Y62s for 70K, doesn't matter what land you live in. So we're still a long way up, if you ask me. I think we've got years to go. It's not months, it's not January, it's nothing like that. So if you want an awesome car, don't wait, just go get one now. But for fun, I'm going to talk about what I think the Y63 should look like. All right, I'm going to get to some of the obvious stuff. If you go and ask 10 people, Y62 owners, what they should change in the Y63, 10 out of 10 of them are going to say the interior and the stereo. And look, I get it. It's old. It's been around since 2010, really. And I think Nissan must have gone and bought like, I don't know, 500,000 like wood grain dashes because they thought they were going to sell 1 billion of them. And it didn't happen, so they're like, I'll just push all the old crap out to Australia until we like consume it. We'll look after like Middle East and America and send them the good stuff, but we'll just keep ramping out the rubbish out to Australia. So we've put up with that, so we'll get that out of the way. Nissan did do some really good things when we're talking about the Y62 as far as traction control and putting 33s or almost 33s on from standard. So the standard 265 6518 is a 32.6 inch tyre. Just bump it up to 33 if you can, because at the moment all you can do is really go up to a 295 or 305. And when you're at the pub and like you're standing around with people going, oh yeah, I got 35s, you don't, do you? You've almost got 35s. They're 295s, not 35s. But we round up, don't we? So Nissan, I don't know if you watch my videos or not. I swear you don't. If you do, just start with a 33 so we can go up to a 35, and we're at the pub with all the like Y61 guys having a beer. We can say, yeah, we're running 35s too. So let's get onto that. What they did do well though was with traction control. The Y62 traction control is brilliant. It's really good. As you know, they've got the, you know, sand, rock mode and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it's good. Personally, I only press the rock button. I think the rest are a bit for show. Sand just changes the throttle to make it more punchy, and it lets the wheel slip a bit, which I don't think that's that useful even in sand. Snow, I don't know what that is. On road, of course, half the time I go full driving I forget and leave it in on road mode and it still works. But the rock mode is significantly different, especially in low range. Like there is a different strategy between high and low, and it locks up the ABS and allows less wheel slip. You know, it's the closest thing to being twin locked but having traction control. So Nissan did a really good job on that. Rock mode also dulls the throttle, so when you put down 50% travel in your throttle, you're probably only receiving 25%. So that's good for rocks and moguls and things like that. If I was going to design it, like me, I would just have like an ABS traction control sort of thing, which would simulate what rock mode does. It'd be great if you could just dial it up and down, and I'll decide how much, and I could get it, you know, as close to twin locked as possible. And also, you know, they won't do this, but if I had my way, I would have a throttle controller so I can decide how punchy I want the throttle or how dampened I want the throttle, instead of them making up a label like sand mode and we'll have to work out what that means. Just give me a dial or a number to turn it up and down to. Now on that note, again, if I was going to design this, and we're talking about the HBMC system now, the hydraulic suspension, they've done a good job at this too, but if we're going to tailor this, and we could do this, and we know from doing suspension upgrades and coil replacements that you can pressurize the system, and if you leave the pressure low, it's really bouncy and floaty, which would be good off-road, but hopeless on-road. You'd get all sorts of body roll when you went into corners. And then if we had an on-road mode, we could like bump the pressures up, you know, to say 3 bar, and it would handle through the hills so much better. Now that would be something I'd like. So it'd just be a way to have a pump in the actuators. This isn't new technology. I remember the, you know, for the older people in the room, the old GSR Galant, you could press a button and the suspension changes. i30N does it. It's just pumping into the hydraulic suspension actuator, and we could control how much pressure's in there. We could have an off-road setting and an on-road setting, or a comfort setting. The technology's there. Let's do it. The technology's there. Apple CarPlay. I'm just going to throw that in. Brake controller. See just here where it is? I reckon in a 62 that is the best spot. Some people put it by the right knee, but then the passenger can't touch it, and like this real estate can't be used anyway because it's just a blank button. So that's where we always put the red arc brake controllers. Again, Nissan, show me a Patrol owner that doesn't tow. I reckon I've bumped into 2 in, you know, 8 years. Everyone buys these cars because they want to tow, so just put a brake controller in it. Like the Rams, they just come with it. It makes sense. Cameras. So the camera system is okay with all the angles and things in a Y62. There was a significant improvement in the quality when you went from like a series 1 to 3 to a 4, and then 4 to 5 got better again with like the clarity of the camera and screen. So I'm guessing the series 6 or Y63, whatever we're going to call it, is going to be really good. But you know, Audi had amazing 1080 HD cameras like 5 years ago, so there's still a lot of improvement to be made. Even like the Defender, like the new Defender, wow, it's almost like there's a drone hovering behind the car and you can see yourself parking the car in the lanes and everything. Now that is super cool. Like if we're going to make, you know, you're not going to make another Patrol, there's not going to be the Y64 for at least another 10-15 years, so like throw everything you've got at it now so it can last a bit longer than this one. Whilst we're in the car, like Ford Ranger did this a few years ago with the Wild Track. They just put a black hood lining in it. Oh gee, it like turned those Rangers into looking like a taxi to like a kind of a cool car. I still don't like the dash in them, but so hood lining, that would be something I would do. Oh, back to this stereo and Apple CarPlay. Like Apple and Android, they've kind of mastered it, and it's live to your phone wireless these days when you get a good system, like the EC Off-Road one I've got in my car at the moment. But so like Nissan, don't even bother attempting to put the GPS in. Like give Fred the day off and say, don't worry about it, mate, you'd never got it right anyway. It's the most useless thing in the world and it's never been good. The day I got my car in 2020, the road at the end of my street wasn't on it. And I know they're never going to update it. So just save your money, Nissan, put it somewhere else, and don't worry about it. Suzuki's worked it out. Just follow them. Let's talk about the captain's chairs. If you look at the Armadas, you can get like the top spec with a captain's chair in it. So that's basically the same as the front seats, in the back seats with a center console. That's cool. We should do that, or at least have an option for it. Whilst we're talking about suspension, the coils in these cars, you actually put 8 or 7 people in the back of these and the whole back end goes down. Because they're independent, the wheel alignment dies, So pretty much every car needs to have airbags. So I think the up model QX80s do this. They have like an airbag suspension, and it kind of looks a bit like this. Here we go in here. So this is what we do to the Y62s. We take the coil out and we're starting to put these airbag replacements in, and they're not just like a go inside the coil. These replace the whole coil, and yeah, that's like a truck airbag. But the next challenge is getting self-leveling, and yeah, this is what we're working on here, and we don't have the answer yet, but that's today's job, to see if we can get a self-leveling system for these Y62s. Right, this isn't new technology. You know, discos have been doing this for years. Land Rover knows how to do it. I'm sure, Nissan, you've got some smart people there. You can work out what to do and make sure the Y63 comes with that over there. I've jumped over the showroom. It's too hard to find a quiet place to talk to camera in this, so I'm just going everywhere. We should talk about colours, because I'm sick of seeing grey and white. They look good, don't get me wrong. When they first come out, it was awesome. But how about the Mazda red, or I love that new Jimny green colour. How good would a Patrol look like in those colours? Dare I say it, even that sandy taupe colour. I'd be interested to see one all pimped up to the sky, full driving stuff with that on there. So colours, lockers. The one thing that the Patrol had over the Land Cruiser was the rear locker. Now the 300, the top spec off-road model's got twin lockers, and I know personally how damn good these cars are twin locked on 35s. Listen, just this time, put twin lockers in them straight up. Like, you've had to get the rear one done, just do the front one too, and take off all that like ECU stuff that manages them like on before, you know, it won't engage after 7 kilometers an hour and it turns off after 15 or whatever it is. Turn all that rubbish off. We just want like old school solenoid to the diff, on and off in low range. Oh, I don't know if you need lockers in high range, but yeah, no ECU. Okay, Nissan, yeah? Exhaust as I walk around, here we go. That's what I want to frame up in the background here. I tell you, although it's under development, this must be the most Y62 Patrol specific showroom in the country, I reckon. But exhaust. So we know, Nissan, you want to put a gigantic muffler in there, and I get that because some people want it quiet for towing and etc. But there's a lot of us, and I mean a lot, that want to hear the V8. Like, maybe do something like what the Hyundai you know, N series does with that bimodal. Like, generally, personally, the aftermarket bimodal exhaust that I've heard sound like a wet fart when they're quiet and too loud when they're on song. Just make us a nice exhaust that we could possibly re-channel without like turning it all off and turning the performance off too. So this sounds like a good excuse to me to add a clip in right now of Sharon's i30N just like popping and cracking. Pop and crackle in it too. So Nissan, if you can get that, so when you're changing gears, get that pop, that would be cool. The world will hate it, but I want it. All right, I guess some of the other little bugbears is the roof rack. So what I mean by that is there's a 100 kilo roof limit on these Y62s. 200s have got 200 kilos. I don't know what the 300s have. But if you want to get a tinny on the top of your roof, you pretty much, or a rooftop tent, you can't buy a Y62. There's just not enough roof limit. So Nissan, basically, if you can up the spec of everything on the 62, like the lower control arms at the rear need to be stronger because they fold and bend. The roof limit needs to be a bit more so we can add stuff there. Just the little bits, the 1%ers, just make a little bit tougher. And for you poor guys that have got the Armada up in the US, that everything needs to be made stronger. We've done some R&D on those cars and it's not a Patrol. Everything's smaller, thinner, lighter. So yeah, just Nissan, you make a really good car. Just beef it up, just a tad. All right, so that's what I think should be in the Y63 or Series 6 or whatever we're going to call it. We know we're a few years off, but so be it. Nissan, if you're actually watching, leave a comment for me down below because I don't know if you watch my videos or not. we're in the dash R&D side, and something unusual is in the workshop, in the warehouse today. So we're going to call this one, and we'll see you next time on YouTube. Yeah.